I have no idea about their business, but if someone owed me $200 million, then I would be in court, not on X. And I guarantee you, if she ever took that to court, that would be a huge story.
Federal attention has suddenly started circling Jay-Z. After explosive online claims involving Nicki Minaj sent fans into a frenzy, there have been no charges announced, no confirmations made. Just whispers, legal threats, and one comment that made people stop scrolling and start connecting dots. The details people keep repeating fall into the same pattern every time: money, loyalty, betrayal, and the kind of silence that makes the whole situation feel heavier than it should. Before getting into the madness that's been unfolding in 2026, it matters where this actually started. Because what's happening now between Nicki Minaj and Jay-Z didn't come out of nowhere. This has roots, deep roots, and the reason it has escalated to this level is tied to what was already sitting underneath the surface. Without that context, the present-day noise just sounds like random outrage. With it, the timeline starts looking more intentional. At one point, Nicki Minaj had nothing but love and respect for Jay-Z. She looked up to him. She admired him. She didn't keep it private either. She said it publicly, on camera, for the whole world to hear. That mattered because it wasn't vague praise. It was specific. It showed how she saw him and what she believed he represented. She looked at Jay-Z and saw someone who figured out how to turn bars into billions, how to turn rhymes into real estate.
Now, you've also said that Jay-Z, Foxy Brown, and Lil Wayne were some of your biggest influences when you were coming up. What did each of them have that you wanted to emulate?
Jay-Z, business savvy. Foxy Brown, immaculate delivery. Lil Wayne, trendsetter.
How to build something that would last far beyond music. The idea wasn't just success. It was longevity, structure, ownership, and for a long time it seemed like Nicki wanted to walk that same path right beside him, not as a fan on the outside, but as somebody aligned with the bigger vision. So when Jay-Z launched his streaming platform Tidal back in 2015, he didn't do it alone. He brought in a lineup of major artists as partners, people positioned as stakeholders, with equity tied to the company. Nicki Minaj was one of them. That point is central to why the current dispute keeps resurfacing. Because it wasn't framed as a standard business deal where one side wins and the other side gets paid once. It was framed as participation. This is where things start to crack. According to reports, Nicki was given roughly a 3% equity stake in Tidal. And she didn't just take that stake and sit on it. She promoted the platform. She pushed it to her audience. She kept it alive through her reach, her name, her credibility. By her own account, she worked the barbs harder than almost anybody on the roster. She has described it like she was going to bat for the platform in a way that went beyond what most people were willing to do. In her telling, she didn't just attach her name to Jassie's vision. She backed it. She stood behind it. She acted like it was hers too, because that's what equity was supposed to mean. The way she describes it, she wasn't promoting a product for a check. She was building value, believing the payoff would match the effort, believing the ownership would eventually speak for itself. Then in 2021, Jay-Z sold Tidal to Jack Dorsey's Square for roughly $300 million. That sale became the moment everyone circled back to, because according to Nicki Minaj, she got almost nothing from it. She says she was offered $1 million. $1 million. And in her view, that was supposed to close the book, like it was a final payout, and the conversation should end right there. But she wasn't having that.
And his breakdown was pretty eye-opening.
Remember when Jay-Z launched Tidal?
I remember.
And he brought in like 16 like musical
15
partners.
people gave him 3% each.
Gave what?
3% each, 45%.
Okay, 3% each.
3%, they got 45% that he brought in. Later on, somebody else came in with like 200 million or so, and he gave them a third. It kind of diluted everybody, which we understand that. That's how your contract's written.
So she's claiming that Jay-Z, when he sold the company to Jack Dorsey, which I looked it up, it was sold for around $300 million, that she was paid $1 million, but she's really owed $200 million.
But she only had about maybe 2.5%, 3% tops.
There's 16 partners. She's not an equal partner. Jay-Z is obviously the biggest shareholder.
Give him that? What's the numbers on 300 and 2.5%? I mean, shit.
300 times
10% would have been 3 million.
2.5.
Half of that 1.5.
It's about 7.5 million.
For 2.5?
2.5%. if it sold for that much. But like you said, it was probably diluted.
It was diluted.
It was, and in fact, Tidal was a losing company.
It stayed in the
Tidal was
negative.
never successful.
Stayed in the negative.
It stayed in the negative, so it probably decreased in overall value. They had to get other, they had to get more money, which ultimately diluted everyone's share and so forth. It's not like you're talking about Spotify. You're not talking about Apple. You're talking about a losing company that was ping-ponged to various other people. I think Sprint bought it at one point. Then I think Jack Dorsey just bought it as a favor to be cool with Jay-Z because he didn't do anything with it. Tidal's not a major platform anymore.
He didn't do anything with it.
And she's claiming that she's owed $200 million, which is like, it's just insane.
She has publicly stated multiple times that Jay-Z owes her somewhere between $100 million and $200 million. That's the claim that keeps reigniting everything, because once that number is said out loud, people stop treating it like a private disagreement and start treating it like an accusation. And when an accusation like that lands in public, it doesn't stay clean. It spreads into speculations, side conversations, and a bigger story that turns personal fast. Now, does that number add up? That's where the math becomes part of the drama. Whack 100 actually sat down and did the math when he talked to DJ Vlad about this situation. And his breakdown was eye-opening. Not because it proved one side right, but because it exposed how far apart the expectations and the numbers really are. When the numbers are broken down, 2.5% of a $300 million sale, even before dilution, comes out to about $7.5 million.
And how did Jay-Z ruin all these sports?
Oh my God. Well, she felt like all of this is alleged and for entertainment purposes only.
And after dilution from additional investors coming in, that number shrinks even more. It's nowhere near $200 million. Not even close. On paper, the math reads cold, clean, and unforgiving. But here's the thing people need to understand. The argument isn't only about what the percentage looks like on a calculator. It's about what Nicki believes was promised, what she believes she put into it, and what she believes was taken off the table when the deal was done. That's why the numbers don't calm the situation down. They just shift it into a different kind of conflict, one where the gap between what was said and what was paid becomes the real story. For Nicki, this was never just about the money. It was about what the money represented. She felt used. She felt like she put her reputation, her leverage.
Do you see what she's been doing recently?
I seen she's been going at Jay-Z. Well, Tidal.
Jay-Z, SZA.
Why is she going at SZA?
Doechii, Kendrick, Punch from TDE, everybody. Desiree from Rock Nation.
And her loyalty on the line for Jay-Z's streaming platform. And when it came time to cash out, she was met with a polite thank you and the exit. It felt transactional only at the very end. After all the value had already been extracted, that feeling didn't fade. It hardened. The Tidal situation wasn't an isolated grievance. It became one piece of a much larger picture Nicki believes shows a pattern. She has also accused Jay-Z of blocking her documentary back in 2018, a project where she planned to speak openly about abuse she says she experienced while dating Meek Mill, who at the time was signed to Rock Nation. According to Nicki's camp, Jay-Z advised her not to release it. Out of respect, she says she listened. She held back. She stayed quiet when she believed speaking out would have changed how the public understood her story. From her perspective, that decision mattered. It was another example of loyalty, another moment where she believed restraint would be remembered. But what followed is what made that loyalty feel one-sided.
I think the problem we have is we watch people for 10, 20, 15 years. We watch them. Vlad, if I woke up and over the next 5 days saw you ranting on everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say Vlad's unhappy. I'm going to say, yo, Act, yo, Trap, yo, Adam. Hey, bro, we need to go check on Vlad. This ain't him, right? Like, we see what he's doing. This not him. So that means something's going on.
After years of standing down and staying aligned, Rock Nation signed Megan Thee Stallion right in the middle of Megan's very public conflict with Nicki, to Nicki and her fans. That timing didn't feel accidental. It felt strategic. Then there were moves involving Doja Cat. Then reports of outreach toward Cardi B, each move on its own, could be explained as business. Together, they began to look like something else. To Nicki and the Barbs, it appeared less like coincidence and more like replacement. One star phased out, Another rotated in. The machine kept moving. This is where outside voices started pushing back. Whack 100 raised a point that many people had already been thinking, but hadn't said out loud. He looked at the sheer number of people Nicki was directing her anger toward and questioned whether all of it could realistically trace back to one central conspiracy. His comment didn't dismiss her claims outright, but it shifted the focus. It made people pause. That pause introduced the real question sitting underneath everything.
Lil Wayne, she feels like Lil Wayne should have been the performer at the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
That is funny as hell. Read that one again. What he said.
She did a whole list.
She said, "Dear hashtag Jay-Z, you ruined hip hop, you ruined football, you ruined basketball, you ruined touring, you ruined Instagram, you ruined Twitter. The jig is up."
Is Nicki Minaj exposing something real? A genuine example of corruption and manipulation at the highest levels of the music industry? Or is something else driving the escalation? Because what came next pushed the situation out of industry circles and into mainstream scrutiny. When The Breakfast Club began covering Nicki's tweets about Jay-Z, one of the hosts pointed out what many observers had been saying quietly for months. If the money is really owed, if the contracts truly say what Nicki claims they say, then why hasn't a lawsuit been filed? As of February 2026, no legal action has been confirmed. No filings, no audits released, no courtroom timeline. On paper, that absence matters. Lawsuits leave trails.
I have no idea about their business, but if someone owed me $200 million, then I would be in court, not on X. And I guarantee you, if she ever took that to court, that would be a huge story.
Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here.
What?
She is still at the White House with Donald Trump.
Audits create clarity. Contracts don't argue back. But instead, this entire conflict has unfolded almost entirely on social media, where emotion moves faster than documentation. That's what makes it complicated. The lack of legal action doesn't disprove her claims, but it does keep everything suspended in accusation rather than resolution. And when Nicki declared war, it became clear the title dispute was only the opening chapter. If anyone thought that was where it would end, they misunderstood how far this was going to go. In the second half of 2024 and all through 2025, she didn't ease up, she escalated. The pressure intensified, the tone sharpened, and the scope widened. The moment that truly set the internet on fire came during the Super Bowl in September 2024. Roc Nation. Jay-Z's entertainment company, which has a partnership with the NFL, selected Kendrick Lamar to headline the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show. The location made the decision feel even heavier.
If you're hollering and screaming on social media, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe either a album, a single, she's about to launch some merch. I believe it's just a marketing gimmick to put the light on her so she can present something else to the people. I could be wrong, but, or she just, maybe she's going through something. You know what I'm saying? Like bro, people go through things and people react in different ways.
The game was being held in New Orleans. That mattered because New Orleans is Lil Wayne's city, a place where he isn't just respected, but revered, living legend, an icon. For many fans, the expectation wasn't even debated. Wayne would get the call. Nicki expected it. The fans expected it. By some accounts, Wayne himself may have expected it. But the call never came. Kendrick Lamar got the spot instead, and that was the moment Nicki Minaj lost whatever restraint she still had. She went online and openly slammed Jay-Z as evil and disgusting, accusing him of deliberately blocking Lil Wayne from the biggest stage in music. That accusation hit a nerve immediately. Barbs were furious. Wayne's fans were furious. What had once been framed as a business dispute suddenly crossed into something far more volatile. The tone changed. The scale changed.
We watched Gucci Mane. Remember?
Yeah.
Remember when Gucci got on one?
Yeah, but
matter of fact, she was the butt of one of the jokes.
Prison right afterwards.
Remember, he was, bro, we was hearing all kind of things, right?
Yeah.
But Gucci later on, once he came home from prison,
he got off drugs, got married, settled
Remember,
down.
it was something happened at the barbershop.
Yeah.
He said, Nicki, I used to take you to the $29.99. He went at everybody, right? Every day we looked up, Gucci was over, but bro was going through something.
It stopped being about percentages and contracts and turned into an all-out public war. The Breakfast Club covered it as well, reading Nicki's tweets on air as they dropped. One after another, the claims stacked up in a way that felt overwhelming by design. Jay-Z ruined hip-hop. Jay-Z ruined football. Jay-Z ruined basketball. Jay-Z ruined touring. Jay-Z ruined Instagram and Twitter. The repetition itself became part of the moment. It sounded less like a single allegation and more like an indictment of influence. One of the hosts couldn't help but joke about the absurdity of it. In many industries, that much damage, all traced back to one man. But the humor didn't last. Because beneath the exaggeration, something darker was taking shape. This wasn't just anger anymore. It was fixation. And by mid-2025, the accusations escalated again.
I'm wondering why Rock Nation don't sue Nicki. If you know, they're quick to kind of support Meg and sue a blogger who doesn't have anything. Why not sue Nicki? That's kind of odd. I'm not saying this shit, but I'm just saying, you know, usually when they're not suing, it's like they kind of know they don't have a case, which means maybe you have some type of point that you've made. Interesting.
By July 2025, Nicki went on X and directly accused Jay-Z of being jealous of her success. She claimed he was stopping bags behind the scenes, deliberately interfering with her opportunities, influencing deals, and quietly sabotaging her career. In her telling, this wasn't passive neglect, it was active obstruction, power being used to limit her reach. She didn't stop there. She accused Roc Nation CEO Desiree Perez of unethical practices. She demanded between $100 million and $200 million and said that if she received it, she would donate the money to charity and start college funds for her fans. The demand reframed the narrative again. It wasn't just compensation. It was framed as restitution.
Man, every single person here, John Legend, Billie Eilish, Phineas, Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here.
Thumbs up happened.
She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues.
Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby.
Oh, shit. They dissed the hell out of Nicki.
Then in October 2025, Nicki dropped the announcement nobody expected. She said she was scrapping her upcoming album. The highly anticipated 6th studio album, scheduled for March 2026, was no longer happening. She went further, suggesting she might be retiring from music altogether. Her words on X landed hard. "Okay, I'm not going to put out the album anymore. No more music. Hope you're happy now, Jay-Z." That single post sent shockwaves through the industry. The cancellation became instant headline news. TMZ, Complex, Hypebeast, Rolling Stone, even the Economic Times picked it up. The reach of the story matched the severity of the claim. Nicki blamed the decision entirely on Jay-Z and Roc Nation.
So Nicki Minaj unleashes this verbal onslaught on Jay-Z. She says, "Are you understanding that these people have been sacrificing children as a way of gaining and maintaining power? If you ever vote Democrat again, you're just as soulless as they are. You will perish. Maybe it's time for me to do some story times. Since I wasn't trying to say what I know, yet they continue to attempt bullying. Also, I won't be releasing an album until my contract is renegotiated and until I tell you about all the sabotage this Rico is finding out about Billboard."
She said her projects had been sabotaged and that she refused to release new music under those conditions. She claimed contracts needed to be renegotiated before she would move forward. She even alleged that Roc Nation executives had begged her behind the scenes to tour and release music, but she refused because the title payout was still unresolved. But this part matters. Just weeks later, in November 2025, Nicki began teasing the album again. The tone shifted slightly. She hinted that the project was stacked, 16 tracks, hit after hit. The retirement suddenly didn't look permanent. The reversal didn't erase what had already been said, but it complicated it. The damage wasn't undone. The narrative was already locked in. By that point, in Nicki's telling, Jay-Z had become the villain. The figure she believed tried to end her career quietly and systematically. And that framing stuck, even as the details kept shifting. Wack 100 offered a different perspective that caught people's attention. He didn't fully buy the idea of Jay-Z as an all-powerful mastermind pulling every string. Instead, he suggested something else might be happening beneath the surface.
Now, she puts an associated picture, and the picture shows a 26-year-old Jay-Z with supposedly a 15-year-old Aaliyah. Now, we got to do some fact-checking here. How old was Aaliyah in 1996? In 1996, she turned 17. So she turned 17 on January 1996. So if this is 1996, as this picture alludes to, unless this was before January 16th, she was most likely 17. She was most likely 17, not 15. So I want to be accurate. Now, granted, is she still underage? Yes. Let's say if it was 1996, right? Aaliyah was 17 in 1996. How old was Jay-Z in 1996? We can't go off the picture. We just got to go off. He was 27. Or 26 or 27, who knows? 27 or 26 and 17 is odd. I will say that. That's odd.
Something less coordinated, but no less serious. He drew a comparison to Gucci Mane, a period when Gucci publicly went at everyone. Industry figures, artists, allies, before ultimately going to prison, getting clean, and settling into a different phase of life. The comparison wasn't flattering, but it wasn't dismissive either. It implied escalation driven by pressure, not just strategy. And through all of it, the tweets, the accusations, the reversals, public meltdowns, and partial walkbacks, one thing remained absolutely consistent. Nicki didn't slow down.
Hey, all y'all niggas who love comment on me, bro. Hey, everybody, hey, I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. Hey, oh, let me signal here. Hey, I seen everybody do think pieces on supposedly a non-existent event that didn't happen, but I seen everybody role playing on podcasts. What is happening if I got slapped or not, which it didn't happen, but whatever, cool. I'll let y'all rock with that. But I need all of y'all to keep the same energy and talk about this. Joe Budden, I can't wait to watch your next podcast.
She widened the scope. She fired back at Chrissy Teigen with a wild claim that had absolutely nothing to do with Jay-Z, catching even longtime observers off guard. Not long after, academics and commentators noted that Chrissy Teigen appeared to have deleted her Twitter account. The timing added fuel, even though the connection itself remained unclear. The focus kept drifting, but the intensity never dropped. Then she went after Lizzo. She made political statements, criticized Democrats, brought up voter ID, and then turned her attention to George Clinton. What started as a targeted dispute turned into a scorched earth campaign. From the outside, it looked chaotic. From Nicki's perspective, it looked like exposure. Academics followed it closely, calling it what he believed it was, but also pointing out the part the media consistently avoided. And that was the core of Nicki's argument. The media had endless energy for everything else. Every rumor, every stray comment, every viral moment. But when allegations involved Jay-Z, the tone changed. Suddenly, there were no deep dives, no urgent podcasts, no carefully worded think pieces. The volume dropped, the coverage thinned. To Nicki, that silence wasn't neutral. It was the loudest signal of all. While the internet focused on her posts, something else was happening quietly in the background. The legal side of Jay-Z's world was getting heavier. In late 2024, a Jane Doe filed a civil lawsuit alleging Jay-Z had been involved in a sexual assault dating back to 2000. Jay-Z denied the allegation entirely, describing it as an attempted blackmail. He responded by countersuing attorney Tony Busby for extortion and defamation. The case didn't end cleanly. In February 2025, Jane Doe voluntarily dismissed her lawsuit, but Jay-Z didn't let it rest. He filed his own defamation suit against her in Alabama, claiming the accusation was part of an evil conspiracy that cost him $20 million in lost income and legal damage. At the same time, Busby sued Roc Nation, accusing the company of soliciting his clients to file frivolous lawsuits against his firm. The legal back and forth kept stacking. In July 2025, a judge dismissed Jay-Z's extortion lawsuit against Busby, though Jay-Z appealed the decision. By that point, Jay-Z was fighting on multiple legal fronts, all while Nicki Minaj continued escalating publicly. Two very different battles unfolding at the same time. One in courtrooms, one on timelines. Through all of it, Beyoncé remained completely silent. She didn't respond to Nicki's accusations. She didn't address the conspiracy theories. She didn't step in publicly at all. Nicki herself clarified that her issue was with Jay-Z, not Beyoncé. But that distinction didn't stop the internet from pulling Beyoncé into the narrative anyway. Silence became its own storyline. As things stand now, nothing has slowed. Nicki is still posting. Jay-Z is still silent. No lawsuits have been filed between them. No audits have been released. No contracts have surfaced publicly. Just claims, denials, and a widening divide in how people interpret the same events. Nicki says Jay-Z owes her hundreds of millions and has spent years sabotaging her career. Jay-Z's camp says nothing. The Barbs believe their queen is being persecuted. The skeptics argue it's all strategy, all marketing, all spectacle. And everyone else is left watching one of the most volatile feuds hip-hop has ever seen unfold in real time. Not in history books, but on phone screens, post by post. If you want to stay connected as this story continues to evolve, Cloud Chase will be tracking every development.